they had this same thing that she was showed periodically, which is like a stick with a light on it, and they wanted to touch them with it to take some kind of test. And her little sister was panicking and didn't want to do it. And she's trying, in the picture, she's trying to talk her sister, and she's just let's just get it over with so we can go home. Because if you let them do it, they'll let us go home. And so that's what that was. And she remembered that when she came home from Texas one year, I had her go get regressed about that, and that's when she remembered more about the night. They all remember the lights and the glowing stones and the lights overhead. They don't all remember the aliens.
And if this is uncomfortable territory to get into, I understand, but your grandchildren as well? Anything specific?
I have a grandson who is autistic, and we didn't know he was autistic when he was born. And right after he was born, his mother, another one of my daughters, told me, she said, last night I was sitting and I was holding the baby. He was probably only a week or two old. And this blue light, bright blue light shined down over us and held me in place. And the light was full of numbers and letters, or symbols. It was full of symbols and numbers, I think she said. And she says, I know it was scanning us and doing something. And so, yeah, I guess right from almost the time he was born, things were going on. And then I was telling the people at the table that one of my daughters had this dream that her father brought her a blue star and said, put it into my grandson's head. His name is Fox. And her dad, who is deceased, brought her this blue star and said, put this blue star into Fox's head. They want you to do this because it'll help. And so we meditated and we put this blue star in his head, and he started to talk the next day. He was nonverbal. And now he's 9 years old, and I mean, he's autistic, but he's outgoing and happy and friendly and talks all the time. And it's a lot different from his prognosis when they said he was severely autistic and nonverbal. And I don't have an explanation for what that means or if it's connected, but so the weird just keeps going on.
So when you mentioned that there was this event that happened when he was very young, right, like a week or two, you said. Mm-hmm. Now you had experiences, whether or not there's some connection to this, I don't know, but it's an interesting sort of pattern, it seems. Like when you were pregnant in 81, if I recall, you had some strange things happening to you leading up to the birth.
Oh, yeah, okay. For like a year before I got pregnant the first time, the weird stuff really ramped up. And that is the period when I realized that maybe it's not because I'm crazy. Maybe there's really something going on. And I don't remember exactly what order it happened in, but I had a dream one night that I was on a golf course. And the golf course, and it was at night, and that the golf course was just like, there must have been 50 people standing silently in the dark, and they were all what I would call, I don't know, what is it, prime breeder age. They were like maybe late teens to mid-20s or maybe 30. All those people standing there silently like they were frozen in the dark. And it's like I woke up and realized I'm standing there too, and I'm like, I guess I'm waiting my turn. We're all waiting our turn, and I'm not upset. I'm just in that weird, calm, abnormally calm thing that happens. And so the next day I wake up, and my feet are all wet and muddy, and there's grass in my bed. And so that was one of the things that happened. And then there was one night I had this dream that there were these huge, like, floating cities all over. The earth was dark, like a thunderstorm dark without the lightning, like the sky was daylight, but the sky was dark. And these ships I could see them parked as far as I could see spread maybe, I don't know, I'm not good at judging this, maybe they were 100 miles apart in the sky. And I knew they were evacuating everybody for some reason. And it was a really unpleasant dream. And then I found out that a girl that lived a half a block away from me had the exact same dream on that same night. And then I think the third thing that happened was I went to bed one night, and the next thing I hear is this clap. And I wake up, and I'm standing in the road in front of my house in my nightgown, and I'm thinking, man, my feet are cold. Why are my feet cold? Because I'm not quite all there. And I'm standing in dirt. What the heck am I doing outside? And then I see this little light going away, and I go, bye. The little light, and I felt sad about that little light going away. And that was all I remembered consciously. And under hypnosis, I remembered that there was a bullet-shaped object, maybe 6 feet by 6 feet or something like that, maybe 9 by 6, and across the road in the grass, and there was this gray beside me, and he cut my head open right here with a little light, and he put something behind my eye. And the funny thing about that is I've had migraines in that spot my whole life, and I talked to him. I didn't like him, and at all, and I seemed to be really antagonistic towards him, like I knew him, and I insisted on calling him Bob because I thought that it annoyed him. And he put something in my head. I didn't like him, and flew away.
And following that, can you speak about the phone calls that you were receiving?
Yeah, and then not long after I got pregnant, I started receiving a phone call. About once a week, I would get a phone call, and I would answer, and it would sound like machinery running, and it would sound like an almost mechanical voice groaning, and how do I explain this? It's almost like pain sounds, except it wasn't pain. It was just scary. And I would get this call, and there would be these mechanical sounds, and this voice that in a language I couldn't understand, kind of like this, like it was trying to tell me something, and I would feel like, I know that I understand this, I know I can, but I never did consciously or any other way figure out what it said, and I just kept getting them while I was pregnant. And the phone company couldn't explain it. They couldn't tell me where they were coming from. And since they weren't threatening me or anything, they wouldn't put a trace on my line, so I never found out what it was about. But then, my older daughter, she's the one who remembers the most of the stuff. She's told me that she got the same calls when she was pregnant.
Wow.
Are you familiar with Deb Cobble's accounts of that?
I'm familiar with her. Did she get calls like that?
Yeah, well, when she was pregnant, she was getting these strange phone calls with some sort of machinery and some garbled voice.
Really?
Yeah, it's in Hopkins' book Intruders. Yeah.
Yeah.
That double-edged sword of, like, on one hand, you're not, crazy, but on the other hand, it's like, geez, maybe sometimes I wish I was, because...
Yeah, because there's a sliver of a chance that I'm just crazy, or I imagined it, and then somebody else says they did it, heard it, whatever. Yeah. Thanks for telling me.
So, the way that I've been skipping around, was there any event that you think that you'd like to share that we haven't touched on yet?
God, there's so many.
Right.
If anybody has a question, okay.
Your grays in your story sound a lot like whites. Have you ever thought of that?
They sound a lot like what?
Whites?
I don't know what that is.
Like it's another species.
They're bigger grays, they're more malevolent, there's like a lot more negative associated with them.
Okay.
Like other than the one with the cryptids, which I believe that I've heard that those grays are associated with worker bees for cryptids. is, so that was interesting when you said that, but all the other malevolent story parts sound like whites to me. They don't sound like, in their pictures look like whites. Like, it's interesting. I don't know if anybody
I didn't know
that, but
about them, so I guess I'll look them up. Mostly they didn't scare me, or I didn't feel scared during the events. I think that it was preying on my mind because, like, after this one, when I was little and I was on the ship and the picture there, I started having this real phobia of the fuel oil tank behind my grandma's house, which kind of looked like a UFO on legs. And I didn't understand at the time what caused me to have that phobia, but I think maybe that was it. I think there were things going on that I wasn't thinking about consciously that were scaring me.
When you talked about the doors in your house when you were 9 years old and everything, that incident with the doors, have you or anyone in your family ever done anything with like Ouija boards or occult, anything at all like that?
No.
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 History of that?
No.
No.
Did your daughter develop her interest in mathematics after your first encounter?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know when her first encounter was, apparently. She was
Became a teacher now.
Yeah, she was always very smart. She always wanted to be a teacher, and just sort of, I'll put this in there. She feels that they told her something that she needs to know for the future, and that she needs to prepare people for when whatever this information is comes out. And so, teaching people and helping people by learning is real important to her. Yes.
Just wondering, have you ever had the MRI done on the side of your face? That
No.
okay.
That's
Have you ever thought of having
No.
that done?
no.
You know, just to see maybe
See if
the
there's
plantation,
see
you
if there's
know,
something
planted
there.
in your temple.
Yeah. No, I'm like a hypochondriac. So I go in there and they find it and I go, it's a tumor.
Did your migraines go away after that happened?
No.
No, so that
Yeah.
Just curious if you or some of your relatives ever, particularly now, have a genetic test to see just how, if there's something amiss in terms of, mom and dad and the daughter, and whether or not.
Well, everybody older than me has passed, including my cousin who was with me during several of these events. And no, we've never had any testing.
I know it's kind of an embarrassing subject, but, you kind of wonder, all the things that went on during your pregnancy, and you hear about, other occurrences with UFO abductees where, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on sexually.
Oh.
And I wonder if you ever thought about the fact that maybe by looking at the genetics, you can definitely be able to tell if something happened that other than the normal course of things.
Well, I can tell you that right after the car chase, not too long after that car chase portrayed in that picture, I suddenly became unpregnant. And, and back then it was just a tragedy. Now I look back at it and wonder if it was something else. And maybe it was taken.
How far along in the pregnancy is that?
It was early, like 2 months.
Pretty strange.
Yeah. Yes?
Have they relayed any messages to you worth noting throughout all these experiences?
Yes. I kind of hate to say it because I feel like I don't know whether what I remember is real, and I don't want to be that person who's saying, oh, the Galactic Council of whoever has this message for humanity. Basically, the feeling I get from them is they want us to stop screwing up the earth. The people in charge, whoever the people in charge are, the Bilderbergers, the Illuminati, the government, I don't know who they are, but whoever the people are who are in charge of what goes on around the world, that their goal is to make everybody believe that the aliens are a threat to us and get us to get on board with being militaristic towards them. And it's not true. They're not our wonderful space brothers who want to come and usher in an era of wonderful things, and they're more just sort of interested in us scientifically than they're madly in love with us. But they're also not here to attack us. But the people want us to believe that. They want us to believe that they're a threat that they're not. That's the message I keep hearing. I don't know what to think about it. I certainly don't like them. I think they're liars. I think they manipulate people. They manipulate your perception. They make you see terrible things so that they can watch to see how you react to it. They invade your life and don't care how it affects you. But I think that they do it dispassionately. I don't think they're like, oh, let's go be mean to the humans. It's more like, well, we want to do this thing and we don't care if we're mean to the humans. At least that's what I think. Yes?
When you were getting those phone calls during your pregnancy, did you ever go back in regressions and see if you could understand what they were saying?
I did, and I still didn't understand it. I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yes?
Have you ever heard of or read about the Searchers or the Mojave incident? Mojave encounter? Never have?
No. Is it a good one?
I think you'd find it very interesting.
Okay, good. Yeah. Is this two different books or?
It's the same book. The first one, in order to hide the man and wife that happened to, they call it the Searchers.
Okay.
So several years later, it came back out by the same writer who wrote the book based on what happened to them, and they changed it to the Mojave incident, gave the people's real name, Stephen Dawn Hess.
Okay. Mojave incident. You think I can remember that? Remember that from you, please. Oh, it's recorded.
It's on Amazon. You get the paperback.
I think the Searchers, but the author was also something like Ron Gelfarb or a similar name.
Starts with an S as the guy who wrote it.
I do remember reading it. I know that I remember some sort of spicy scene in a tent or something like that.
You know what?
In a tent.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, they were camping. They were camping.
Yeah.
And there was no spicy scene.
Okay.
And it was terrifying. No, what happened was terrifying.
Sure.
It was terrifying what happened to him, but there's no spicy scene.
Sorry, I'm thinking about something I shouldn't say. What?
I was just going to ask, your cousin who was with you when you were 7 and you had your first encounter, did he or did your cousin actually, were they abducted as well? Did they remember anything? Or?
He remembered consciously what I remembered consciously before I was hypnotized, and as an adult, he did not want to talk about it. He would admit it happened, and that was it. But I remember him standing like in suspended animation by me. And I remember seeing a curl of blonde hair and just like a regular petri dish, and knowing it was his hair. And I think that they were particularly interested in us because we were first cousins, and it was, a genetic find to find first cousins together that they could get a hold of.
Oh, so they could do like a compare and contrast genetics or whatever.
Something.
Yeah.
Anyways, they found it particularly interesting, and there was more than one incident with him and I.
This thing about the sky full of ships rescuing people or taking people on board, did you get a feeling with that?
I felt like we had damaged the earth, and they were coming to take us away because we weren't going to be able to live here anymore.
So it's a rescue from
Yeah,
a screwed
and
up
for a
earth.
long time it really scared me, but now I kind of wonder if it was more of the manipulation. We're trying to get you guys to stop destroying the earth, so we're going to scare you to death.
Yeah, that's kind of my follow-up is, I guess I'm more paranoid than you. I was thinking a step further down is maybe they want us to be afraid the planet is going to be destroyed so that we'll get on the ships. Because they want us on the ships. They want millions of us onto the ships.
It's a cookbook.
Yeah, the question is
No, I never thought about it as a trick to
because you said they're manipulators and liars.
But now I
It's
will.
like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Do you ever get any feedback from your alien friends that they were able to see the future or the past, or if they have some extraordinary extrasensory capability that was it telepathy or
I definitely think they have telepathy. I think that they are somehow way ahead of us in a spiritual way. I think that all things spiritual, religious, and magic will turn out to be science of some kind. But they understand things about the nature of time and distance and travel and what's corporeal and isn't that we don't understand, that they have a lot more knowledge about it than we do.
so if they're able, for example, if they didn't have a smooth travel between their star and our star, if it was a shortcut through space-time somehow, as an example, going faster than speed of light or bending space or whatever that is, that kind of technology is so far ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that they get in a ship and they stick in the charcoal and they go for millions of miles. I think they,
Point A to point B.
right, they either do that or they come through from another dimension, but they don't actually travel all the way across the universe. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But I'm not a scientist. Yes.
I've read one account where someone was in your situation and they were told that there was this very advanced race of Andromeda galaxies, which is 2.5 million years away. It took them 20 minutes to get to the here, which is just an incredible kind of, if that's true.
Yeah, I think that trying to solve the problem of how can we ever make a ship that can travel, these long distances without carrying so much fuel, so much fuel that it would just be too heavy to work, is completely pointless. That's not how it's been happening. Yes.
Have any of your stories, so one of the themes that's kind of been more prevalent in the last few years is the idea of interdimensional and like semi-corporeal or whatever, things that can travel in and out of like the perceived universe, and then maybe are in a different universe kind of thing behind the scenes. Like, is any of your stories or anything that you've experienced lent to that kind of concept of the multiple dimensions, things coming in and out, or has it all been kind of more based in physical?
No, it hasn't. A lot. That's the reason I didn't talk about it for most of my life was because so much of it was fringy. It was like, is this a religious experience? What is this going on? And so I was too embarrassed to talk about it. And then yeah, also, I just thought, nobody else is saying that this is happening to them. Nobody else is mentioning these weird psychic phenomena happening concurrently, so it must just be me. And, but no, I think there's very likely something way more than just the physical going on. I think there's a physical going on too, but, and I'll just say, I think that, I believe that probably 70% of the really weird stuff that I've seen happen, I didn't see happen. They made me think I seen it happen. And where I used to think it really happened, now I don't. I think that they made me think it happened. For, I don't know, training, jollies, I don't know why they would do that, but, and I think only a little bit of it was physical, real physical interaction. Yes?
You ever tried to snatch a souvenir, and if so, were you ever successful?
No, I tried to hit one.
How'd that work?
I didn't